Hello everyone, welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm broadcasting to you live from Central Europe, Budapest, capital city of Hungary. And today we are looking at an IELTS Task 1 table from our website. As usual, our materials are coming from our website materials. If you're looking for academic IELTS, please visit us at aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com and join our full course there. Hi everyone. Hi Saneem. Hi Motivational Guru. Hi Sweta. And then if you're studying for general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. That's usually for immigration purposes. All right. So, just a reminder, if some of you want to get our physical books, so you want to have the paperback book or an e-reader version as well, but I think most people are looking for those paperback books with IELTS exams, you can order our academic IELTS book. Just look for AE Help's academic IELTS book. Look for our logos. And you can order our books from Amazon India, Amazon.com, Amazon UK, or any of the other Amazon sites. You can also order the general IELTS exam books too. You will find that there are two exam books from our company for academic IELTS. Each of them have 3 exams that specifically focus on academic IELTS, and then the same thing for general. And we also have a TOEFL book as well if some of you are doing TOEFL. So you will find those on Amazon if you're looking at AE Helps books, and these are the exams that we use for the most part in class. Hi Jeffrey, nice to see you in class. Hi Amarwadi, good to see you here as well. Hi Edward. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's just look at what we're dealing with today. Here's a quick peek at our schedule. Just a reminder, we're looking at Task 1 table today. We have a sponsored chat only class tomorrow, then a reading class, IELTS reading section, passage 3 on Sunday. No class Monday, Tuesday. This is the question for today. The chart below shows the sales at a cafe which is located next to a very large high school. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. And then you should write at least 150 words and spend about 20 minutes on this task. And then we see this table here. And we'll get right into this in a second. I'll just show you before we get into discussing Task 1 tables where this is coming from. So if you're looking for IELTS materials, definitely check out our websites. General IELTS, look for the green background. Academic IELTS, look for the blue background. You can join by clicking the red button or try it with the green button. At the top there, you can log in. And then when you're logged into your student account, and this is for a lot of the students who already have our materials as well, you have 2 green buttons here off to the left. Now, if you're using it on your phone or tablet, it might be somewhere else, but you should find these 2 green buttons. And then you can click on either the Task 1 or Task 2, and then our website will prompt you and give you a choice of a whole bunch of different questions. So here you can select a question. And then you can see that this is where a lot of these questions that I use in these live classes are coming from, like this one that we did in a class before with comparing the population of India and China. So anyway, check that out. All right, so let's get back to this Task 1. Again, 20 minutes. Always do Task 1 first. Don't do Task 2 first. Do Task 1 first. It's worth 1/3 of your mark. It's a good chance to warm up, especially if you know what you're doing. What's your first step, girls and guys? So you get to the writing section of your IELTS exam, and what should you do first? What is your number 1 step? Gaurav, thank you for that feedback. I really appreciate it. We're always working on making our materials better and better. All right, so what do we do? Sarbjeet, yeah, you can purchase the one book off Amazon if you want. It includes the reading. You can't just purchase reading. Paraphrasing Junyuin is a good idea. So starting off with paraphrasing is always a good idea. So here we can paraphrase by saying the table depicts the finances at a cafe or coffee shop that is close to a big secondary school. Okay, so there's my paraphrase. That's really all you need to do. You don't need to summarize the information by making comparisons and contrasts where relevant, because that's always the same for task 1. So you just need to paraphrase the question. Now, a good example of why that's important, I've seen a few students answer this question in the past, and they completely forget about the second part of the question, that it's next to a very large high school. And you'll see when we write this example that that's quite important, okay? What should you do after? So you've paraphrased the question. You paraphrase chart as table. Instead of saying shows, you write depicts. Please don't write below or above to refer to a table in your essay. It doesn't make sense to refer to the location of a diagram in an essay, so don't do that. Okay, I've seen students do that before. Instead of sales, I used finances, and then coffee shop instead of cafe, which is more French. Located next to a very large high school, close to a big secondary school. Okay, secondary school is another way to say high school. So that's good. What do I want to do next? Let's see if somebody else has figured this out. Revenue is a good way, Junyuin, as well, to paraphrase sales. So revenue is very good. Good evening, Shiji. I hope you're doing well, getting ready for your exam. I guess it's tomorrow, so good luck with that. Before you look at the main points, Fazia, there's one really important step, and this is the one that a lot of students skip, and it's really one that you should not be skipping. Okay, so a very important step is pay attention to what kind of graph or table you're writing for. Okay, let me put that up here. So always pay attention to what kind of graph, table, or diagram you are writing the essay for. Okay, it's always an expository third person essay. So here, clearly we're writing for a table. So in a table, you don't use words like gradually increasing and gradually decreasing. That kind of language you use for a line graph. Unfortunately, I see students do that as well. Hi, Aisha. Nice to see another one of the sponsors jumping in. So here, we're writing for a table, and please note, okay, if you're doing the academic IELTS, it's really important that you understand the difference of what a table shows you versus a pie chart, versus a bar graph, versus a line graph, versus a diagram, a flow chart. These different type of displays are showing you different kinds of information and require different types of language. The most common mistake that I see often is students are using line graph language for all kinds of graphs and tables and things. That's not good, okay? So what type of information do tables show, or what are tables used for? Okay, so can anybody answer me this question? What kind of information or description do we have when we see a table? So the simple question here is, what information does a table show? Hardik says it shows raw data. Absolutely, Hardik. Can you tell me a little bit more? So if we look at our table here, you should get an idea, right? So absolutely, it shows some raw data. The raw data is located in these cells, okay? Each one of these boxes is a cell, and it's showing the raw data. It's not necessarily showing change over time, Pachu. Until I convert this into a line graph, we can't actually see really the change over time. So what is it showing? It's showing sales, sure. So the raw data itself is sales, and what is it giving me the sales for? Yeah, so Amar Wadi says it's giving me the sales figure for months and for meals. Absolutely. So what tables are used for is to show raw data as related to two variables, right? So variable, let's say X here is the months, and variable Y are the meals. And the data is the number of sales, okay? So, or the dollar figure in sales. So remember that tables are used to show raw data in relation to two variables. Now, this is all very good vocabulary to know for task 1 writing, okay? Raw data in relation to two variables, usually X and Y. And in this case, in our example, it's dollar sales according to meals and months, okay? So that's what it's showing us. Now, if you want to get those nice high IELTS band scores, then there's an extra interesting little step that you can do with tables, and we're going to do that in a moment here. Can anybody guess what that is? So what can I do if I want to get a really high band score, like a band 8 or a band 9? What can I do with this table that's beyond just simply comparing these individual numbers to each other and talking about which month and which meal had the highest sale and the lowest sale and so on. So what else can I do with a table that can give me some really interesting information? When I put that information into some good sentences, it'll help my score go really nice and high. What can I do? Lorraine, you're absolutely on the right track. I can do averages. I can do summation, right? And it's simple math here. You don't have to overdo it. So what I can do is I can actually add very quickly the rows and the columns. Now, I know you only have 20 minutes for task 1, so you want to keep this very simple. So here, all you'd want to do is say 21 plus 22 is 43, 43 plus 18 is 61, plus 11 is 82, plus 10 is 92. So 92,000 roughly sales for breakfast, okay? And then do that for all of the other rows and columns, and then you can actually figure out which meal had the highest overall sales in all of these months, and you can figure out which month had the highest and lowest overall sales in these months. Now, you might not even have to add up all of the rows and columns. You can just visually look at these numbers, round them up, and figure out which ones they are. So by doing some basic math, some simple math, you can gain some really valuable information with a lot of tables and write some really good sentences, and I'll show you how to do that as we get into this example, okay? So remember this neat little extra skill with tables. So by summing or adding together the rows and columns of tables, you can see some valuable information that helps to reach higher band scores, okay? certainly, if I'm an examiner and I see a student do that and include that into their overview, their summary, or their analysis, then I'm definitely going to say, hey, this student has a pretty good idea of what they're doing. Not only that, but if they're expressing it well in English, then obviously they have a much higher level of mastery than students who don't. Okay, so now the next step, of course, is we want to identify our points of interest, okay? So here, let's do some quick math. So I said 92 for breakfast, right? 92,000. I added that together. Can somebody please add together dinner and somebody add together August, somebody add together July, June, May, April, just estimates, round up, so that would be 11,000. That would also be 11,000, so round up or round down appropriately, okay? This is basic grade 2, 3 math, so everybody should be able to do this easily. So what I'm looking for here before I start identifying my points of interest is just some quick summation. Help me out with this, girls and guys. Add together each month. Add together dinner, I'll add together lunch, and then we'll go from that. Okay, I already see some students putting up numbers, so 77,000 for dinner. Good. This should only really take you a minute, okay? April is 73,000. April is not 73,000. I don't know who put that up there, but check your numbers, girls and guys. Breakfast is 92, is it not? I think it's closer to 92. Okay, I'll keep reading your numbers. Lunch is 115 roughly, or 116. Okay, sure. Let's see what else we have here. April is 64. Okay, thank you for that. Anybody get May and June? May is 64 as well. Sure. Okay. Anybody get any of the other months? June, July. Okay, let's do June real quick. So 18 plus 24 is 42. 42 plus 16 is 58. Right? August is 35. Somebody just put up there roughly. Yep. Sure. 36, I think, is a little bit better estimate. 36 for rounding correctly, and 46 for July. Okay, so good. So again, you want to do these. Now, if you're doing the IELTS, you might not have to add all of these up. If you're good in math, do them anyway. If not, you can probably just by looking at the big numbers here, figure out that lunch had the highest sales, so you'd only need to add that one, etc., right? So you can simplify this a little bit. Okay. August is 45. Yes, thank you for that. Okay. So if you guys see corrections, yeah, you don't want to mess it up too much. Okay, good. So right away we see some interesting points by doing that summation. So we can see that lunch had the highest sales overall. We can see that dinner had the lowest sales overall. We can see that these 2 months, April and May, had the highest sales overall. We can see that July and August, roughly the similar, had the lowest sales overall. So much, 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 much more interesting, okay, than just simply reporting the numbers in the cells. All right, so now we can go and identify our points of interest, okay? So we're not looking for exact numbers, just estimates here, okay? Sujan is asking, can't we compare them side by side? I'm not sure what you mean, Sujan, but if you're referring to just doing like compare April to May, May to June, June to July, it's not a good approach. So you don't want to get lost in too many little details here, okay? All right, so for the overview, I would definitely say that this is number one, lunch having the highest sales and dinner having the lowest sales overall. That's probably what I would include in my overview. And then the rest of it I would keep for the analysis. So This one would be overview, overview, and then the rest of it for analysis. For analysis, I would probably name this one here as point number 2, being the highest sales of any time period. And then the lowest sale would be this one here. Okay, and then I would probably break into explaining that this one and this one here, these 2 months were the highest, these were the lowest. Maybe this one is number 5, so you don't need to spend too much time on this. Okay, and then if I have more time, I can write into further details or go into further details, but for now, that's good. So starting with those 5 points is good. Okay, I hope somebody is recording this a little bit, simply because I'm going to have to erase this. Maybe I'll make a note of this up here for myself. Just give me 1 second there, girls and guys. I'm going to note some of these key numbers for myself so I can refer back to them once I erase them. All right. Okay, so we begin writing. So we start with the overview. There's 3 paragraphs to task 1. Paragraph 1 is the overview. Okay, so let's start with the overview. In the overview, you want to paraphrase the question and give some more details. So we've kind of already started with some of that here. All right. So I can just take that paraphrasing and start off my overview with that. Okay. So first section is the overview. And here is the first part of it. So the table has six columns and 4 rows. Which depict the revenue, I like that word, by Du Nguyen, the revenue at a coffee shop that is close to a big school. Each of the cells depict the number of sales or dollar sales. Dollar sales for a specific month and meal from April to August, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Over the period shown, lunch had the highest sales and dinner the lowest. Okay? So that right there, girls and guys, is enough for your overview. All right? Hi, Baljit. So this is the overview here. So basically all I did for this table is I described what it appears as to the reader. So it has 6 columns and 4 rows that depict the revenue at a coffee shop that is close to a big secondary school. Each of the cells depict, I used depict here, so I want to change that to show. There are a lot of different ways to say show, so make sure you know a few different ways so you're not repeating words. Each of the cells show the dollar sales for a specific month and meal from April to August, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Over the period shown, lunch had the highest sales and dinner the lowest. Okay, and again, shown is repeating here. So over the periods or over the recorded period is a better way. Lunch had the highest sales and dinner the lowest. All right, so let's get past that overview and let's get into the analyses. How can I start this off, girls and guys? So I don't want to just write this for you. I want you to write it. How can I start off my analyses? So remember my point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can say the lowest and the highest months, absolutely. I remember I labeled that as one of my first points. So go ahead, tell me, what is a good first sentence? So have a look at this, label your own points, and give me a sentence. Give me a sentence to start off my analysis. Yeah, Murasa, when looking at the table in more detail, try not to use we, Murasa, in your essays, okay? Don't involve your reader. Try to keep it as third person as possible. When looking at the table in more detail, it is clear that... What is clear? So what's clear when looking at this table in more detail? Yes, Ahmed Nabil, this is definitely for academic IELTS. It's not for general IELTS. April and May had roughly the same profit for breakfast. I wouldn't write that, Baljeet, because it's not the most important. Girls and guys, remember this really key part of task 1 questions. It says selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. You have to go from the most important pieces of information to the least important. So lunch has the highest overall sales at, sure. So when looking at this table in more detail, it is clear that the highest sale of any meal and period is for lunch. Remember, I labeled this. And we can see that there's no other number starting with 28,000, okay? So it's for lunch in April at 28,000. It's for lunch in April at just over $28,000, let's say. Okay? Now, how can I follow this? So how can I follow that sentence? Okay? What's the next sentence that I can write? So if my first sentence is, when looking at this in more detail, the highest sale for any meal and time period is lunch in April at 28,000. How can I follow that up? Motivational Guru, I am teaching and looking at the comments at the same time, and because there are 115 people watching and commenting, sometimes I miss comments. My apologies for that, but if you're really adamant, just write it in again and I'll try to catch it, okay? All right, let's see. Anybody, can you tell me what I should do? Yes, Sujan, you should definitely use the dollar symbol instead of writing dollars. It's okay to write dollars maybe once, but otherwise always use the symbol. Don't waste words and time writing out the word dollar. So that was a good question. Whereas dinner has the lowest sales, or conversely, breakfast experiences the lowest sale. Make sure you know which one. I think the only sale that's at 10,000 is this one here, right? So you don't need to worry about all these smaller digits. Just look at the first 2 digits and you can see that this is the only one with 10,000. So clearly that's the lowest sale, right? So whoever's writing about breakfast, you're on the right track. Conversely, the lowest sale for any meal and month is breakfast in August at $10,880. Okay, good. All right. So we have the highest and we have the lowest sale. So we have the highest sale of lunch. We have the lowest sale of breakfast in August. What can we do now? So what are the other interesting points that we can talk about? We'll go over the overview again, Laraib, in a bit when we get to the end. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, some motivational guru, absolutely. If we start talking about the summations now for the months, definitely. Yeah, we can talk about that. So sales are less and less each month from April to August. That's true. Yep, so sales are decreasing. Yeah, absolutely. So we can talk about that. That's a good one. It can also be noted that the trend of sales is less and less each month, moving from April to August. Sure, okay. Now, we might want to back that up with a little bit of fact, okay? So we can talk about breakfast sales are as high as 21,000 in April, but as low as 10,000 in August. Lunch sales are 28,000 in April and as low as 19,000 in August. But look at this. Dinner, it's kind of the same. In fact, it's the only one where sales actually increase a little bit in July and August. So we can report that, okay? Absolutely, that could be the next point. This is especially true for breakfast and lunch. In April, lunch sales are 28,000. But in August, they are only 19,000. A similar pattern is observable for breakfast with 21,000 in sales for April. And only about 11,000 in August. Sure. All right. What can we write next? What's the next thing? Yeah, which is roughly half. That's very good, Dwi Nguyen. So turning that into human language is very good. Yeah. Which is roughly half the amount. Okay, sure. Yeah, it's really good, Dwi Nguyen, to include that kind of human language rather than being overly mathematical. Sure. Now, what else can I write? So I've discussed the highest sales, the lowest sales. I've now discussed the change in sales. Dinner is the exception, right? I can write about that. Dinner is an exception with sales roughly the same throughout this 6th 5-month period. 5-month period. Make sure you don't report incorrect information. 5-month period. Around $16,000 in earnings. Okay. Sure, great. Now, what can I write next? Let's see. Motivational guru, that really depends on the question. Motivational guru is asking that the overview shouldn't be more than about 20 words. Not necessarily, okay? Your overview could be as long as 50 words, motivational guru, especially if you're doing a combination graph, like a line graph combined together with a table. It would be very hard to give an overview in just 20 words for something like that. So it depends on your question. Sujan, I'm not sure. You're going to have to practice that. Okay, so what comes next? Now here, what I would do next is I would compare the overall sales in each month. Okay? So this is a neat little sentence that you can use to increase your band score, okay? By summing together the columns, it becomes clear that the highest grossing months are April and May, both at about $64,000 total. On the other hand, July and August have roughly 30% less in sales at around $46,000. Okay, so that's what I would finish it up with. Remember what we did at the beginning where you helped me out and you helped me to just quickly add these up and get a rough approximate idea of how much each of these month sales totals. So that's what I did here now is I just used that information. I didn't report on June. It's kind of between the two. If I'm really fast at writing, then maybe yes, I can do that. But it's not necessary. So as long as I have these, it's good. What I'm showing you here too is this really nice sentence. So one way to say it is by summing together the columns, it becomes clear. You can also say by adding together the columns, okay? So those are a little bit of two different ways of doing it. Now, we're definitely reaching our 150-word limit, if not more. Here is where I always tell students to include a summary, okay? Your summary, really what it should be is a simple but main piece of information that can be clearly deduced or inferred from the graph, table, etc. Okay? So that's what your summary needs to be. Okay? So what can we deduce? What can we infer? Infer means make an educated guess about this table, about the information in this table. What can we infer? What can we guess? What can we understand? And again, I'm going to give you a little bit of help here to push you to that band 8, band 9. Look at the original question. The chart below shows the sales at a cafe which is located next to a very large high school. Summarize the information by reporting the main features. Now, remember which month had the highest sales? April and May. Which months had the lowest sales? July and August. Highest sales are for breakfast and especially lunch. What kind of inference can I make based on this question? I'm sure some of the clever, critical thinking students out there will come up with it and say, aha, wait a second, there's something very obvious here, and that's why these IELTS people wrote this into the question. Share ID, I'm not sure what your question is, so just send me an email after class and I'll try to answer that. Yeah, so Manisha, sales followed a downward trend or definitely a decline in sales. Now, be careful not to use line graph type of language. So sales were much lower when the school is not in session, right? Or during summer vacation, sales for lunch and breakfast are much lower, and this is most likely correlated to the students who go to this cafe, or the number of students who go to this cafe, okay? That's absolutely what you should be figuring out. And a student who notices that and is able to report on that clearly will have a much better chance of getting a high IELTS band score. Again, girls and guys, remember, IELTS is not just testing your English. It's testing the way you think. It's testing the way you analyze and report information. That's very true for task 1, okay? That's why you have an academic IELTS and another different one for general IELTS, okay? So my summary here would be this. In summary, this cafe has the highest sales for lunch and breakfast during April and May, but the lowest in July and August. Thinking about this critically, it is evident that the sales are correlated with school, with the high school schedule, which is, I'm getting a little bit lost here, so I'm going to have to collect myself. So in summary, this cafe has the highest sales for lunch and breakfast during April and May, but the lowest in July and August. Thinking about this critically, it is evident that sales are correlated with the class sessions of the nearby high school. Okay, so something like that or something similar. It's a little tiny bit on the awkward side, but it still makes good enough sense. You would definitely get a high band score coming up with a summary like that. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Let's read this together. The table has 6 columns and 4 rows, so this is the table that we're referring to. It looks simple, but notice that there's a lot of information there. The table has 6 columns and 4 rows which depict the revenue at a coffee shop that is close to a big secondary school. Each of the cells show the dollar sales for a specific month and meal, from April to August, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Over the recorded period, lunch had the highest sales and dinner the lowest. When looking at this table in more detail, it is clear that the highest sale of any meal in period is for lunch in April at just over $28,000. Conversely, the lowest sale for any meal in month is breakfast in August at $10,880. It can also be noted that the trend of sales is less and less each month, moving from April to August. This is especially true for breakfast and lunch. In April, lunch sales are $28,000, but in August they are only $19,000. A similar pattern is observable for breakfast, with $21,000 in sales for April and only about $11,000 in August, which is roughly half the amount. Dinner is an exception, with sales roughly the same throughout this 5-month period, about $18,000 in earnings. By summing together the columns, it becomes clear that the highest grossing months are April and May, both at about 64,000 total. On the other hand, July and August have roughly 30% less in sales at around 46,000. In summary, this cafe has the highest sales for lunch and breakfast during April and May, but the lowest in July and August. Thinking about this critically, it is evident that the sales are correlated with class sessions of the nearby high school. Okay, definitely you would get a very nice high band score writing like that. Pay attention again to the clear details here. Notice that I didn't write like a line graph. I didn't use things like increasing or decreasing or things like fluctuating. Okay, that's not good to use for a table. Yeah, VJ, absolutely. A good summary in task 1 can help you to get a high score. I know a lot of students have said, hey, my teacher says you don't need a summary, but it is good. Notice that this summary really works well for us here. You could write it a few different ways, but as long as you express that there's a correlation in the sales between this coffee shop and this high school, that will definitely earn you higher scores, okay? All right, girls and guys, any questions about this task 1? So any questions about this task 1? Some of you might be wondering what's the word count on that. I'll let you know in a second. So this is, if I take out my instructions and so on, it's about 210 words. Okay, so that's the word count, is 210. New is asking me, is it true that using nouns makes your writing more academic? If I understand your question correctly, Nguyen, you mean using nouns instead of pronouns, so using specific nouns like students instead of saying they. Absolutely. So using specific subjective nouns is better than using pronouns in more cases. Yeah, Jeffrey, I'm pretty sure this would get you a 9. It's very strong analysis. You're using mathematical reasoning with good English combined, showing strong expository essay writing in third-person voice, good reporting of information. So yeah, this would get you a 9. Gurpreet, I'm not sure what your question is about counting. What do you mean cannot count that words is given in a question in writing task 1 and 2? I don't know what you mean by that, so you'll have to rephrase your question. Oh yeah, Charlie Sen, definitely don't write these points. So in your IELTS, okay, don't write overview, analysis. Oh, sneezed, excuse me. Must be the truth. Yeah, don't write overview, just start writing, okay? The word overview, analysis, and summary, I'm just writing in this information for your information only, okay? In the official IELTS, this should just be 3 clear paragraphs, okay? Thank you, Manisha, for that. Jurishal Rabunkos is asking me if there's a specific format for writing task 1. Generally speaking, they will say you need an overview and an analysis. I myself argue that it's good to have a summary. Let me copy paste this and then I'll show you exactly, of course it's going to be handwritten, but I'll show you the exact format that I would use to make it very clear for my reader. Okay, so let me just do the formatting here real quick, and then that will help answer a lot of your questions, okay? So if I were to write this by pencil on paper, it would look like this as far as the layout goes. Just give me 1 second here. let's make it. Okay, so there you go. That gives you an idea of what it should look like, okay? So if I wrote this on a piece of paper in the IELTS, this would be my spacing, okay? So I would indent, even though that's traditional and you don't have to indent, it does make it more clear for the reader. So I would definitely indent 5 spaces, 5 letter spaces for each paragraph. I might even leave an extra space between paragraphs, so it's just very clear for the reader, and then just have it looking like that. So I hope that works now, that you can get that, okay? Jagjit, we do mention dinner a little bit in the paragraph. So we say dinner is an exception with sales roughly the same throughout this 5-month period at 16,000. Dinner is not very exciting for us. There's not a lot of change there. So you don't want to spend too much time writing about dinner, okay? Dinner does not show any main features as the question is asking. Hardik, that's a very common question. So Hardik's asking, should we write past tense or what? What do we do? If you're referring to the time in the data, like you're talking about the year 2015, then you have to use the past tense. But if you're referring to the information currently that you're looking at in the table or the diagram, then you need to use present tense, okay? Let me make that more clear for you. So in this diagram, or in this table, sorry, the period is 2010, so it is in the past. So I can, if I write a sentence like this, it needs to be past tense. In July 2010, the sales for breakfast were 11,250. So I use the past tense, okay? But if I'm referring to what the table shows, it's general information because the table's showing that right now, in the past, and in the future. So then I use present tense. The table shows that sales are 11,250 in the month of July, okay? Because the table is showing that to me now. It will show the same information to me in the future. So I'm using present simple to show a general piece of information. Is that clear? I hope that's clear for everyone. It's a very common question of when should I use past tense, when should I use present tense. Again, if you're talking about the graph, present tense. If you're talking about the time and it's in the past, it's past tense, okay? This is the right pattern, Gurpreet, that I'm showing you right now. So that's what it should be. Mandeep, I just did a task 2 class the day before yesterday on Wednesday. So have a look for that on the channel, okay? Everybody, please, if you haven't, subscribe to the channel, and then you can see a lot of these past classes that have been recorded. And all of our live classes, we have, I think, over 50 or 60 of them on our website now, okay? Manisha, I'm still thinking about what to do for tomorrow's class. So I'll let you know later on today, okay? Analysis is the main part of your essay, Tikmaya, so definitely analysis is very, very important, okay, for task 1. Brem, I'm not going to go into economics right now. I'm not an economics teacher, although I do know someone who is. Lorraine, I'm currently in Hungary, Central Europe right now. A little bit of a different question, but I'm happy to answer it. All right, girls and guys, so that's it for today. I'll stop there. Make sure to visit us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS. By the way, on our app, you will find some of our strategies as well as practice exams. Good luck to everybody who is doing their IELTS exam tomorrow. I know many of you are. Make sure that you have a good night's sleep, okay? Get some good rest, wake up early, have a good breakfast, stay calm, all right? Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great rest, good sleep if it's late in your country. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow for tomorrow's class. Bye for now.